Notice what happens to your legs by the time evening comes. The shoes that fit comfortably in the morning feel slightly tighter by dinner. The ankles that looked normal when you woke up have a softness around them that was not there before. And when you finally sit down after a long day, there is a heaviness in the calves that feels less like tiredness and more like something is sitting inside your legs that should not be there. Most people over 65 experience this and say nothing about it. They assume it is simply what aging feels like. They adjust. They buy wider shoes. They put their feet up and wait for it to pass. But that evening heaviness is not aging. It is a message. And today I am going to tell you exactly what it means and show you 6 movements that directly respond to it, each one chosen for a specific reason in a specific order for people who want results without risk. I am Dr. Hameed Ullah Shaheen, and the conversation I want to have today is one that most clinical appointments never make time for. Not because the information is complicated, because it requires explanation. A real explanation of what is happening inside your legs and why specific movements, done in the right sequence, can change how those legs feel within days to weeks. You will not need equipment. You will not need to get onto the floor. Every movement I'm going to describe can be performed safely by adults over 65, including those managing joint discomfort, balance concerns, or reduced mobility. What you will need is understanding, because movements done with understanding are done consistently, and consistency with circulation is everything. Let us start with the biology. Why your legs? Your body moves blood in 2 directions. The heart pumps oxygenated blood outward through the arteries, downhill to the legs, assisted by gravity and cardiac pressure. That part generally works well into old age. The return journey is the challenge. Venous blood, blood that has delivered its oxygen and needs to return to the heart, must travel upward from the feet and legs against gravity. It does this through a system that depends on 2 things working together: the mechanical squeezing of muscles surrounding the veins, and a series of one-way valves inside the veins that prevent blood from falling back down between contractions. Think of it as a relay system. Your calf muscles squeeze, blood moves up. The valve closes, blood cannot fall back. The next squeeze moves it further, and so on, all the way back to the heart. After 65, both components of this relay weaken. Vein walls lose elasticity. Valves close less completely. The calf muscle pump, which depends on regular walking and movement to stay strong, works less efficiently, particularly in people who spend significant time sitting. The result is what you feel by evening: blood and interstitial fluid that accumulated in the lower legs throughout the day, sitting there because the return mechanism was not strong enough to move it efficiently. The exercises I am about to show you are not generic leg movements. Each one targets a specific part of this return mechanism: the calf pump, the thigh muscles that support deep venous drainage, the ankle joint that houses the critical tibial artery, the coordination that makes the whole system work together. Done in sequence, they address the mechanism from every angle. Done daily, they restore a level of function that most people assume is simply gone. The ankle mobilization, opening the gateway. Before we activate any muscles, we need to address the joint through which the primary blood and nerve supply to your foot passes. On the inner side of your ankle, just behind the ankle bone, there is a narrow passage called the Tarsal Tunnel. Running through it are the tibial nerve and the tibial artery, the main blood supply to the entire sole of the foot. When ankle mobility decreases, which happens reliably with reduced activity and age, circulation through this passage slows. The downstream effects, numbness, tingling, cold feet, reduced sensation, are a direct consequence of reduced ankle movement. This is why we begin here. Mobilizing the ankle before activating the muscles improves the circulatory environment everything else depends on. Sit in a firm chair with both feet flat on the floor. Lift one foot slightly. just enough to clear the ground. Now trace the letters of your name in the air using your big toe as the pen. Write slowly and deliberately, making each letter as large as you comfortably can. Larger movements mean greater ankle range of motion. Greater range of motion means more pumping action through the tarsal tunnel with each movement. One full name per foot. Switch sides. This takes approximately 90 seconds. It requires no strength, and it opens the circulatory gateway to everything that follows. Movement 2. Seated calf activation. Waking the second heart. Your calf muscles are sometimes called the second heart, and the name is physiologically accurate. Every contraction of the calf squeezes the deep veins running through it and pushes blood upward toward the heart. In a person who walks regularly, this happens thousands of times a day without conscious thought. In a person who sits for extended periods, it barely happens at all. The goal of this movement is not to tire the calf. It is to restore the rhythmic pumping action that walking provides without requiring walking. Sit upright in your chair with both feet flat on the floor, hip-width apart. Keeping the balls of your feet firmly planted, slowly raise both heels as high as they will comfortably go. Feel the calf muscles tighten. Hold at the top for 3 full seconds. Do not rush this. Then lower the heels slowly back to the floor. The 3-second hold is the critical detail most people skip. It is during the sustained contraction that the pumping action is most effective. A quick bounce up and down activates the muscle briefly. A controlled hold and slow release creates a genuine pressure wave in the venous system. 12 repetitions. Slow, deliberate, controlled. If you do only one movement from this entire video, make it this one. Done consistently after any extended period of sitting, it directly addresses the primary mechanism behind evening leg heaviness and ankle swelling. Movement 3. Seated leg extension with foot flex, the deep vein activator. The deep veins of the thigh, the femoral and popliteal veins, carry the majority of venous return from the lower leg. They run through the large muscles of the thigh, which means they depend on thigh muscle activity to assist their drainage. When those muscles stay inactive for hours, deep venous return slows significantly. This movement combines thigh activation with ankle dorsiflexion, pulling the toes back toward the shin, which stretches the tibial nerve along its full length and promotes both circulatory and neural mobility simultaneously. Sit upright with your hands resting lightly on your thighs. Slowly straighten one leg until it is extended in front of you. As you reach full extension, simultaneously pull your toes back toward your shin. Flex the foot firmly, hold for 4 seconds, feeling a stretch along the back of the leg from the heel through the calf. Then slowly lower the leg and release the foot. Switch sides. 8 repetitions per leg. The movement should feel like a deliberate, controlled stretch, never sharp or painful. If you feel a strong pull behind the knee or into the calf, reduce the range of the foot flex slightly. This is the movement that most patients are most surprised by, because they feel it working in places they did not expect. That is the tibial nerve responding to mobilization along its full length. It is exactly what is supposed to happen. Movement 4. Supported standing, heel-to-toe rocks. Rebuilding the pump in standing. Everything so far has been seated. This movement brings the calf pump into a standing position, which increases the gravitational demand and therefore the therapeutic effect, while keeping one hand on a support for complete safety. Stand behind a sturdy chair, kitchen counter, or any stable surface. Place one hand lightly on the support. Feet hip-width apart, posture relaxed and tall. Slowly shift your weight forward onto the balls of your feet, lifting your heels. Pause at the top for 2 seconds. Then slowly rock back onto your heels, lifting the toes slightly off the floor. Pause at the back for 2 seconds. Then return to neutral. That complete front-to-back rock is 1 repetition. 10 repetitions. slow and controlled throughout. This movement does something the seated heel raise cannot. It activates the shin muscles as well as the calves, creating a more complete pumping action through the full length of the lower leg. The rocking motion also stimulates the proprioceptive nerve endings in the sole of the foot, which maintain balance awareness and are often undertrained in people whose walking has reduced. Do not grip the support. Your hand rests on it for safety, not to hold your weight. Let the legs do the work. That distinction is what makes this a strengthening exercise rather than a leaning exercise. Slow sit to stand, the whole system working together. This is simultaneously the most functional and the most underestimated movement in senior leg health. Standing up from a chair, something most people do dozens of times a day without thinking, recruits the largest muscle groups in the lower body simultaneously. The quadriceps, the hamstrings, the gluteal muscles, and the calves, all contracting together in a coordinated wave. That coordinated contraction produces the single most powerful venous pumping event available to a person who is not running or climbing stairs. Done slowly and with control, it becomes a deliberate, therapeutic movement. Done quickly, the way most people do it, the benefit lasts less than a second. Sit toward the front edge of your chair with both feet flat on the floor, slightly behind your knees. Place your hands on your thighs or the armrests for support if needed. Lean your chest gently forward, weight over the feet, and rise to standing over a slow count of 4. Stand fully upright. Pause. Take 1 breath. Then lower yourself back to seated over a count of 5. Slower than the rise. Control the descent completely. Do not drop into the chair. 5 to 8 repetitions. The descent is where most of the therapeutic and strengthening value lives, because eccentric muscle contraction, the controlled lengthening of muscle under load, is more effective at building functional strength than the upward phase. Most people fall back into the seat and lose all of it. Control the descent, every repetition. Movement 6, the closing flow, everything together. This final movement combines elements of what came before into a single continuous sequence, and it is the one I want you to build to over time, once the individual movements feel familiar. Stand behind your chair or counter, one hand resting lightly on the support. Begin with a slow heel raise, calves engaged, hold 2 seconds, lower with control. Then a gentle toe rock back, shifting to the heels, hold 2 seconds, return to neutral. Then a small controlled bend of the knees, not a full squat, just enough to feel the thighs engage, and slowly return to standing tall. That 3-part sequence, heel raise, toe rock, mini knee bend, is 1 repetition, 6 to 8 repetitions. Breathe throughout, in as you rise, out as you lower. What this flow does is activate the calf pump, the anterior shin muscles, the deep thigh muscles, and the postural core in a single coordinated pattern. It mirrors the musculoskeletal sequence of real walking, the same muscles in the same order, producing the same circulatory effect, without requiring you to actually walk. For patients whose walking is limited by pain, balance, or breathlessness, this flow maintains the circulatory benefit of walking within a supported, controlled 4-foot space. This is the movement to come back to. This is the one to do every evening before you sit down for the night. When and how often? Let me give you a practical framework rather than a vague recommendation to exercise daily. Morning. Movements 1 and 2, the ankle mobilization and the seated calf activation. Immediately after getting up and before significant walking. This prepares the venous return system for the day ahead, rather than letting it start from a position of overnight stasis. Midday. Movement 3, the seated leg extension, during any extended period of sitting. After lunch, during television, during any seated activity lasting more than 45 minutes. Set a gentle reminder if needed. Evening. Movements 4, 5, and 6, the standing sequence, before your main evening rest period. This is the most important session of the day because it addresses the fluid that has accumulated since morning and prevents the redistribution process from disrupting your sleep. Total daily time commitment: 12 to 15 minutes, spread across 3 short sessions. This is not a fitness program. It is a circulatory maintenance protocol. The distinction matters because it changes how you approach consistency. You do not need to feel motivated. You do not need energy. You need the same quiet regularity you bring to taking medication or eating meals. What to expect? I want to give you honest, realistic expectations, because false promises undermine trust, and trust is what keeps people consistent. In the first 3 to 5 days, most people notice that the restless, unsettled feeling in the legs at the end of the day is slightly reduced. The legs arrive at bedtime feeling less congested. This is the calf pump beginning to reassert itself. By the end of the first 2 weeks, the pattern of ankle swelling typically changes. It may not disappear, but it becomes less pronounced by the same time of evening. The shoes that were tight at dinner feel less tight. The sock marks are lighter. By the end of 4 weeks of consistent practice, the majority of patients who follow this protocol describe a qualitative change in how their legs feel throughout the entire day, not just in the evening. Lighter on standing, less effortful on stairs, more responsive on the first few steps after extended sitting. This is not because the veins have repaired themselves. It is because the muscle pump surrounding them has been retrained. The relay system is working better. The return journey is more efficient. And when that return journey becomes more efficient, the downstream effects, the sleep disturbance, the morning stiffness, the progressive reduction in walking confidence, begin to reverse as well. Important caution: if you have been diagnosed with deep vein thrombosis, active blood clots, or severe peripheral arterial disease, please discuss any new exercise program with your physician before beginning. These conditions require specific medical guidance that goes beyond general exercise prescription. If you experience sudden significant worsening of leg swelling, redness, or warmth in one leg only, or shortness of breath at rest, these are symptoms that require prompt medical assessment rather than exercise. For the majority of adults over 65, managing the common, gradual venous insufficiency that produces evening heaviness and mild swelling, these movements are safe, appropriate, and evidence-aligned. But your individual clinical picture always matters, and your own doctor knows it best. The evening heaviness in your legs is a message. It is telling you that the return system, the relay of muscles and valves that moves blood back toward your heart, needs more consistent activation than your current daily routine is providing. These 6 movements are the answer to that message. Not a temporary relief, a daily restoration of the function the system depends on. The ankle mobilization opens the gateway. The calf activation restores the primary pump. The leg extension addresses deep venous drainage. The standing rocks bring the pump upright. The sit-to-stand recruits the whole system. And the closing flow ties it all together in the pattern your body actually uses to move through the world. 12 minutes a day, 3 sessions, 30 days. That is the commitment. And at the end of those 30 days, your legs will tell you whether it was worth it, in language far clearer than any number on a test result. Share this video with someone in your family whose legs have not felt right for a long time. Someone who has been putting their feet up every evening and waiting for it to pass. The information they need is in this video. Leave a comment below and tell me, which symptom bothers you most? The heaviness, the swelling, the aching, or the restlessness at night? I read every comment, and I want to understand what you are dealing with. I am Dr. Hameed Ullah Shaheen. Your legs have carried you your entire life. Give them what they need to carry you further.